I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on linear relations. Here are questions from previous test paper of one of my IB student of grade 9. We'll go through these questions. There are 6-7 questions followed by application questions. Question number 1 here is true or false. I would like you to pause the video, answer these questions and then look into my suggestions. Let's try to answer them now. A line with undefined slope is horizontal. Is it true or false? Well, undefined slope means a vertical line. So this statement is false. Right, so false. It is a vertical line, not horizontal. The line with negative slope always tilts up to the left. So it is confusing at times. So if I have a negative, when we say tilts up to the left, means kind of like this, right? Well, that does indicate negative slope. So this statement is true. The y-intercept of a line is the point with x-coordinate equal to 0. That is correct. So this statement is also true, right? So if you have a y-intercept, basically, let's say we draw a line here, then that is the y-intercept where x is 0. For the line, the run is considered to be horizontal distance. That is correct. So it is rise over run, right? So we do, in this case, we'll go down and run is horizontal distance. The graph of x equals to 4 is a line parallel to y-axis. That is also true. It is a vertical line with undefined slope. The point minus 3, 5 is located below the x-axis. What do you think about it? Well, minus 3, 5 will be here, right? So which is above, and therefore this statement is false. G. A line with slope of 2 is perpendicular to line with slope of half. This is false. It should have been negative half, right? Negative reciprocal. The line 3x plus y equals to 6 has a slope of minus 3. Let's rearrange. So we could write this as y equals to minus 3x plus 6, where slope is minus 3. This is true. The point minus 1 minus 3 lies on the line y equals to 2x plus 5. Let's substitute minus 1 here, right? So we get 2 times minus 1 plus 5, which is minus 2 plus 5 equals to 3. So this statement is therefore false. It is not minus 3, it is plus 3. So this is false. Actual point is minus 1, 3. The last one here is the line y equals to 0 has a slope equal to 0. That is true. It is a horizontal line. So I hope all parts of this question are clear. Let's move on and take the next question now. Question number 2. Determine equation of each line shown in the graph and find the point of intersection. So we need to find this point of intersection, and we are given two lines. Let's call them L1 and L2. Well, this point here is y-intercept of 6. Here we have 8. Here we have minus 2, so that you could read it nicely. We have a very good point here, and this point could be labeled as 2, 6. Now, taking these points into consideration, you can always write down equation of both the lines, correct? So you take your time, pause the video, write down their equations, and then check with my solution. So line 1, right? Now for line 1, we know it is going down. We have slope m1 equals to y2 minus, this is like 8, 0, that is 0, 6. So we have 8, you could actually better to write this point. Let me write like this, 0, 6, right? And this point will be 8, 0, right? So we can use this point first, y2 minus y1. So m will be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we get the value as 0 minus 6 over 8 minus 0. So it is definitely negative 6 over 8, which could be also written as 3 over 4. Right. Since we know the y-intercept is 6, we can write the equation of line L1 as y equals to minus 3 over 4 x plus 6, because this y-intercept. Line 2. Slope of this line is what? Let's find out the slope of this line. So y values are 6 and minus 2. These are the y values. So we have 6 minus 2. Let me write like this. Over 2 minus 0. So that means 8 over 2, which is 4. And the y-intercept is minus 2. So the equation of line 2 is y equals to 4x minus 2. So we get both the equations, right? So that is equation number 1, line 1. This is the second line. So we got the equations. Now let's find point of intersection. Now to find point of intersection, we could use elimination or substitution, right? So line 1, b was 6. This is 6, not b, right? We have 6. Okay. So we can use the elimination or substitution. Y is 4x minus 2. So we'll say equation 1 equals to equation 2, because both are y values. So we could write this as 4x minus 2 equals to minus 3 over 4x plus 6. Now multiply by 4, that is better. So when you multiply by 4, we get 4 times 4x minus 2 equals to minus 3x plus 6 times 4. So 16x minus 8 equals to minus 3x plus 24. Bringing x together, 16x plus 3x equals to 24 plus 8. So from here, we get 6 plus 3 is 9, so 19x equals to 32. So the x value here is 32 over 19. And now let's find the y value, which is 4x minus 2. 4 times 32 over 19 minus 2, right? We can use the calculator at this stage. So we have 4 times 32 divided by 19 minus 2 equals 2. And that is 90 over 19, right? So approximately decimal value is 4.74, you can say, right? So that is what we get for the y value. So we have this point of intersection. Let's call this point as P, as the x value is 32 over 19 and the y value is, we'll write in fractions, 90 over 90. Is that clear? So that is how we get the solution of this question. I hope the steps are absolutely clear. Since we are given the y-intercept, we just need to find the slope to get the equation in slope-intercept form. Once we have found the equations, the point of intersection we could find by substituting the value of y in one of these equations and then calculating the value of x. So you get a fraction value, which is kind of okay from the situation, because this is almost from this position also it seems to be clear. It is less than 2 as far as the x value is concerned and less than 5 as far as y value is concerned. So it is correct, right? Let's move on and take question number 3 now. Question number 3. Find equation of line with x-intercept of 4 and y-intercept of minus 3. So when I say x-intercept, it means what? X-intercept of 4 means that the point is 4, 0. And when I say y-intercept of minus 3, that means at 0, the y value is minus 3. Now from these points, we can always find the slope. Let's find slope m, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So in our case, we can take minus 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 4. So we get both are negative, so it becomes 3 over 4 as positive, right? So now we have x-intercept of 4, y-intercept of minus 3 means a positive line. Since we already know the y-intercept, so we know b is equal to y-intercept of minus 3. And therefore, the equation of this line is y equals to 3 over 4x minus 3, correct? So basically the line will be kind of like this. Minus something like this, right? Where this is the y-intercept of minus 3 and that is 4, correct? Question number 4. Determine the equation of line passing through points A and B. We are given 2 points. You need to find the equation. So first is let's find slope between A and B using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that is 11 minus 5 over 4 minus 2. So which is 6 over 2 or 3. Right? So now we know y equals to 3x plus b. We can substitute one of these points. 2 and 5 is a good point. So we'll substitute 2 and 5 here, right? So we get 5 equals to 3 times 2 plus b. And that gives you, we have 5 minus 6 equals to b, which gives you b equals to minus 1. And therefore, equation is y equals to the slope 3x. Slope is 3x minus 1, correct? So that is how you could actually solve this equation. Perfect. Next question here is find the intercepts of the line 5x minus 3y equals to 15. Now best way to find intercept is we'll rearrange. We can write this as 5x minus 3y equals to minus 15. Correct? Now if I have to find the x-intercept, that means y equals to 0. So if I substitute y 0, I get 5x minus 0 equals to minus 15, or x equals to minus 15 over 5. So x equals to minus 3. So we have our x-intercept as minus 3, correct? Now to find y-intercept, we'll substitute x equals to 0 in this equation. So we get 0 minus 3y equals to minus 15, and y will be equals to minus 15 over minus 3, which is equal to plus 5, right? So the y-intercept will be at 0 we have plus 5, correct? So we can write down our answer, which is x-intercept is at minus 3 and y-intercept is at 5. Question number 6. The equation of line is 2x minus 5y plus k. Find k if the line passes through a given point, right? So we are given the equation as 2x minus 5y equals to k. It passes through a point which is minus 7 minus 2. Substitute the point here, right? So x value is minus 7, y is minus 2. So we get 2 times minus 7 minus 5 times minus 2 equals to k. So we have minus 14, minus minus becomes plus 10. So we get the value of k as equal to minus 4, right? So our answer is k equals to minus 4, correct? Now we are almost at the end. The question here is, we have 2 questions here. Question number 7. Find the equation of line which passes through this point and is parallel to that line. Parallel means same slope, right? So means same slope. So we'll interchange and find the slope, right? Write it in slope-intercept form. We have 3x minus 4y equals to 12, or 4y equals to 3x minus 12. So the slope m is 3 over 4. Okay? We'll divide by 4. So we'll divide by 4, sorry. So we have y equals to 3 over 4x minus 3. So slope is 3 over 4. Now it passes through the point minus 3, 6. So we could write our equation as y equals to 3 over 4x plus b. To find b, will you substitute this point? 6 equals to 3 over 4 times minus 3 plus b. So which is bringing it here, we get plus 9 over 4 equals to b, right? Now we can actually solve for b here. So we get b equals to 24 plus 9 over 4, which is 33 over 4, correct? So we get our equation as y equals to 3 over 4x plus 33 over 4, clear? Question number 8 here is, use intercepts method to sketch the line 27x minus 36y equals to 108. So we need to first find the intercepts, right? And then we'll use this particular method. So in this equation, 27x minus 36y equals to 108. The x-intercept will be, as we did earlier, y value will be 0, right? So it will be 108 divided by 27. We can calculate this. The y-intercept will be, this will be 0. So 108 divided by minus 36, correct? So that is how we get our intercepts. Let's divide. 108 divided by 27 is equal to 4. And 108 divided by 36 is equal to 3 with a negative sign since we have minus 36. So we got both the intercepts. Now let us try to sketch it. So the y-intercept is minus 3 and x-intercept is 4. So let's say this is minus 3 and that is 4. So we'll just join them and sketch our line. Where this point here is minus 3, the y-intercept, and that point is 4. So that becomes y, this is x, and that is 0. Does make sense to you? So always, whenever you're given line in standard form, finding intercepts and then sketching is far better. Perfect. So these were knowledge-based questions. Now we'll take some application-based questions. I hope you have understood this part. We'll take up 3 application questions in this particular video. I hope you can see the first 2 questions now. You can always pause the video, copy the questions, solve, and then look into my suggestions. Here is question number 3. Now, let us take their solutions one by one. Question number 1. The annual cost of operating a motorcycle varies partially as the distance driven. The cost is $610 for 2,000 kilometers and $850 for 5,000 kilometers. Determine the relation that represents this relation. Find the cost of driving 9,000 kilometers. If the annual cost is $550, how many kilometers can be driven? So when we know it is partially dependent, we can use the equation y equals to mx plus p, right? So that represents partially dependent. Where in our case, the dependent variable is the cost, right? So we can say that cost C is our dependent variable, right? Which is given in dollars. And then kilometers is the X amount, which is the kilometers, and M is the rate, right? So we can write cost as M into X plus B, right? So we have 2 points basically. Cost of 610 for 2,000 kilometers. That means one equation will be, we have 610 when the car goes 2,000 kilometers. So which is M times 2,000 plus B. The other one will become 850 cost for 5,000 kilometers, M times 5,000 plus B, right? So we could actually substitute these values in our equation, getting 2 different equations. Let's call them equation 1 and 2. And now, if I subtract one from the other, right? So let's do equation 1 minus, rather let's do equation 2 minus 1, right? So if I do equation 2 take away equation 1, right? So what do you get? You get 0, and that is 4, right? And that is 2. 240 is equal to, b and b cancel, we get 3000 m. So the slope m is equal to 240 over 3000. Does make sense to you, right? So if you calculate this, you can cancel these terms. You can divide by 2, and so when you do that, it goes 12. You can divide straight away because this can be divided by 12, right? So what you get here is 2 over 25. So that becomes the slope. So I have purposely used this method to show you that we need not always use slope for finding the rate, right? You are allowed a calculator. You could also use 240 divided by 3000 and get your answer, which is 2 over 25, right? So we'll use calculator actually. So once we know the slope, we can find the y-intercept, right? Well, definitely, some of you can also find slope m by using the formula, that is m is equal to the y values, right? So 850 take away 610 divided by 5000 take away 2000, correct? Which will also give you 2 over 25. It is the same equation. You see, 850 take away 610 divided by 5000 take away 2000. We got 3000, correct? So both are correct. Perfect. Now we get our equation of the form that the cost is equal to 2 over 25. That is the value of m times the distance x plus that amount which you have to pay even if you don't run the motorcycle. Now to find the value of b, we can substitute any one of these points. So let's substitute 610 and 2000. So we get 610 equals to 2 over 25 times 2000 plus b, right? Now 25 goes 4 times in 100, right? So you get 80 here, correct? So you could write this as 610 equals to 80 times 2, 160 plus b, or 610 minus 160 is equal to b, and that is equal to 0. And then from 11 you get 5, and then from 5 you get 450. So we get the relation that the cost is 2 over 25 times the distance x plus 450. Clear? So that is how we can get the solution, rather the equation, to represent this particular relation, right? Now part B is find the cost of driving 9,000 kilometers. For part B, we'll substitute 9,000 for x, which is kilometers. C is the cost. So we get 2 over 25 times 9,000 plus 450, correct? So let's multiply and get the answer. So we get 2 times 9,000 divide by 25, and then we'll add 450 to this. So it comes to, cost comes to 1170. The answer should be in dollars, right? So therefore, cost equals to $1,170. Now for part C, if the annual cost is $550, how many kilometers can be driven? So x is the number of kilometers it can be driven, right? The way we defined our variables, we were saying let the cost be c and this be x, correct? So x is the number of kilometers. The cost is given to us as 550. So we'll suppose 550 on this side we'll put. We have 2 over 25 times x plus 450. So we'll take away 450 from 550. to get 2 over 25 times x, and that is 100. So we get 100 times 25 over 2, right? So that gives you the value of x, which is 50 times 250, right? 25, right? 50 times 25. So 25 times 50 or 25 squared, which is 624. Yeah, times 2, right? So what we get here is 1250. So we could drive 1250 kilometers for annual budget of $550, right? So our answer in this case is 1250 kilometers. Correct? So that is how we can actually answer this question. I hope the concept is absolutely clear. So there was a variation in our doing this question. We actually wrote the equation and then solved it. You could have first found the slope, as I was saying, and then get back to the equation. Either way is correct. Now let's take question number 2. A health club charges its members a fixed annual fee plus a fee each time they visit the club. In the same year, Richard visited the club 50 times and paid total of $450. Nigel visited the club 120 times and paid $800. What are the fixed fee and the fee per visit? So let's define our variable. We say fixed fee, let it be f, and the variable fee, number of times you are going is n. So variable fee will be rate, we call this m, right? Now n is the number of times, n is and c is the cost. So our independent variable is actually n in this case, and we can now write c as equal to number of times into the variable rate, so mn, plus the fixed fee f. Does make sense to you, right? So we get this general equation, which is partial variation. Now we can again substitute the values. So one set of value which we have is that for Richard, 50 is the number of times, right? So 50 and paid 450, correct? And for Nigel, it is 120 and $800. So these become the 2 points. Now we'll substitute these 2 points, get our 2 equations. So we can say 450 equals to 50 times m, because we substituted for n plus fixed amount. And we have 800 equals to 120 m plus f. Is that clear to you? Now again, if we take the difference between the two, in that case, what do we get? So we'll call this as our equation 1, this as equation 2, and what we're doing here is doing equation 2 minus 1, simply because this is bigger, right? So when you take away from 800 this, you get 0, 5, and 7 take away this 350, equals to here 0, and that is 7, m. F and F cancel. So 350 divided by 70 gives you the value of m, which is, they cancel, 5. So we know m is 5. Now when you substitute 5 here, you can find the value of f, right? So we'll call this as our equation number 3, and we'll sub 3 in one of our equations. Let it be in equation 1, right? So we get 450 equals to 50 times 5 plus f. So we get 450 minus, so 5 times 5 is 25, 250 is equal to f, which is 200. So that gives you the value of f. So we get our equation, which is, let me write here, 450 equals to 50 times m I should have written n, the number of visits, right, plus the fixed cost of 200. Okay. So from here we get both fixed cost and the fee per visit, right? So fixed cost is $200 and rate, which is M, is $5 per visit, and per visit is $5 per visit. Is it clear? So that is how we are going to solve this question. So I hope the concept is absolutely clear. Let's move on and take the last question now. Here's the last question, question number 3. A school team travels from Malton to Ottawa, a distance of approximately 520 kilometers. The first part of the trip is completed by car, which averaged 80 kilometers per hour. The last part of the trip is by train, which travels 120 kilometers per hour. If entire trip takes 5 hours, determine the distance the school team spent traveling by train. So let's make a kind of a sketch to represent this situation. So let us say we are going from Malton to Ottawa, and first part is by car. Let's say this is up to this point is by car, right? So let's say point up to by car, and then it is by train. Now, since we need to find the distance traveled by train, we'll call this distance as x here. And so, total distance being 520 kilometers, right? So we are given this distance total is 520. That clearly means if this is x, then the distance here will be how much? Will be 520 minus x, correct? So that is by car. Now we also know that the speed of train and the car, we know that 80 kilometers per hour and 120 kilometers per hour. And distance, speed, time, triangle also we know, right? That helps us to relate distance, speed and time. So distance, speed and time. Since we are given the total time of 5 hours, right, we can write from here that the relation is time is equal to distance over speed. So we can add both the times to 5. That is what we will do, right? So to form the equation, we have total time equals to time by car plus time by train. Since time is distance over speed, by car we are traveling 520 minus x and the speed is 80. By train we are traveling x and the speed is 120, and this total time is 5 hours. So we got everything now here in the form of an equation. In this equation there is only one variable, which is it says determine the distance the school team traveling by train. So that is the distance traveled by train, which we need to find. Now we can actually take common denominator between these two, which is 240. 3 times 80 is 240, right? So we'll multiply all this by 3 times 520 minus x, and we'll multiply this by 2, right? So we get plus 2x, and here we have 5. So let's open the bracket. So we get 5 equals to 60 and 15, right, minus 3x plus 2x over 240. So we can now cross multiply. So when you cross multiply, you get here 5 times 240 equals to 1560 minus, here minus 3x plus 2x is minus x. So let's bring x on the left side. So we have x equals to 1560 minus 5 times 240, which is 5 times 4 is 20, 0, 2, 10 and 2 is 12, right? That much. So we get this value of x, 1560 take away 1200, which is 63. So 360 kilometers, right? So we get our answer, and that is team spent traveling by train. So it is 360 kilometers by train. Is that clear to you? So that is how we can actually solve this question also. So I hope you find the method simple and useful. Feel free to write your comment, share your views. If you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. Now these kind of questions could also be asked in linear systems where we are forming two equations and then by elimination or substitution we solve them. And these questions could also be part of linear relation where we could use just y equals to mx plus b and solve. So that is the beauty of these questions. I hope you appreciate it. Thanks for your time and all the best.